Ah, there you are. Come, sit beside me. The fire is gentle tonight. Not too bold, not too faint. Just enough to keep the night from feeling too wide. I've set some stones around it, smooth and old, pulled from the very walls that once stood proud around us. They hold the warmth well. You'll feel it if you settle in close. Here, this patch of grass is soft, see? The moss grows thick here between the stones. Old silken moss that remembers more footsteps than I ever could. You may rest against it. I often do. The dragon's already dreaming. You can hear its breath, can't you? Slow, steady, almost like a great bellows resting after its final song. There is a rhythm to it, one I've come to know better than any marching tune or war cry. It comforts me more too. I think, perhaps it dreams of the same things I do, stillness, starlight, and the quiet gift of being left alone. Look up, my friend. The sky is clear tonight. So very clear. Every star hangs as if placed with purpose, not flung carelessly, but stitched carefully into the heavens. I've stared at them for so long I almost believe I could name them, though I know none truly go by name. They shimmer like old promises, like letters forgotten in the folds of time. Some blink slowly, others not at all, and now and then one will drift, just a little across the black, a quiet wanderer like me, like you perhaps. You feel it, don't stay you? That hush, it lives here, in the broken stones and sleeping earth. This place, once a keep, once a fortress perhaps, has long since laid down its arms. There is no more thunder of hooves here, no banners in the wind, only vines and wind-sung archways, and the sort of silence that feels not empty, but full. Like the pause before a lullaby begins. That's a good silence. The hurried our one. Sometimes I speak into it, just to hear how softly the world answers, not with echo but with welcome. The breeze moves through the gaps in the stone, sighing gently, like a grandmother humming a tune long after the child has fallen asleep. Tonight feels older than most. Not in a heavy way, no, not at all, but in that quiet way an old book feels when you open it to a page that's been read many times before. The fire crackles low, and the grass leans toward it, lit in amber glow. The sword beside me is untouched, and it shall stay that way. There's no need for iron tonight, only warmth. And you, here beside me. It brings a kind of comfort I don't often name. The scent, we've both wandered, haven't we? Perhaps through fields or thought or time itself. And now we find ourselves here, not because we chased something, but because something quiet called us in. Do not know the hour. I no longer count them, but the stars suggest it's well past the world's waking. A good time for being still, for breathing in the scent of wood smoke and sleeping grass, for letting the weight fall from your shoulders, slowly, like snow from a branch. May I tell you something, my dear friend? There is peace in knowing that the world can carry on without our effort, that we are allowed to stop, to sit, to share nothing but presence. That is what this fire offers, not heat alone, but pause, permission. You may have brought that with you too. So lean back. Let the stones cradle your spine, let the fire warm your hands. Listen to the dragon's breath, the sigh of old stone, the whisper of night creatures making their gentle way through the underbrush. No harm will come to you here. Not in this place, not tonight. There is nothing to fix, nothing to prove, no story that must be told in haste. Only this moment, only us, the new stars. So stay, please, Stay a while longer. This ruin, this fire, this shared stillness, they've waited long enough for you. Listen to that wind, my friend. Soft, isn't it? Just brushing through the arches like a memory trying to find its way home. This old place, it once stood proud, you know. A fortress once. Perhaps a watchtower or a noble's hold, the kind that kept banners high and secrets hidden. Now the stones are softened by time. Moss has crept into every seam. The walls no longer reach for the sky, but rest, slumped and cracked, as though they too have grown weary of standing. I find that comforting, in a way that even stone is allowed to lean and crumble and still remain. We're nestled in the heart of a twilight valley. It's hidden well, cloaked by groves and low hills that roll like folded blankets around us. I doubt many would find this place, unless they were looking for silence. The kind of silence that feels like it's been waiting, not empty but full of patience. Yes, that's what I found here. Not absence, presence. Breathe in for a moment, deeper. Do you smell that? The air carries the scent of ash and damp earth, laced faintly with wild mint growing somewhere nearby. There's moss, too, rich and thick, with that cool green fragrance that comes only after rain or long stillness. It clings to stone and root, and the undersides of fallen branches. Even the dragon smells of it now, fire and moss, both softened by the breeze. The coals in our fire have settled into their evening glow, no longer leaping, just pulsing with heat, like the slow heartbeat of the night. The wood crackles sometimes, a small snap, a hushed shift, and the light stretches gently across the stone. You'll see how it paints the ruin walls in moving gold. It catches on old cracks, casts long shadows that sway with the breeze. It's like watching memories flicker, not clearly, but enough to feel their shape. Do you see that arch? Just there beyond the dragon's back. Once, I think, that would have been the main hall, where voices rang and torches burned tall. Now it's just open to the sky. Ivy hangs down like a curtain, no one thought to draw back, and through it you can see the stars. Oh, the stars tonight, they're brighter here than most places I've been, as though this ruin is closer to them. Or perhaps the world has simply forgotten to throw up smoke and sorrow in this corner. There's a clarity here, a kind of deep quiet that lets the stars reflect back more than their light. They seem to lean low, as if listening, as if watching over us like old sentinels that never left their post. There's one, see? That faint shimmer near the broken tower edge? It blinks slowly, steadily. I've watched it every night since I came. It never moves. I've come to think of it as an anchor, or a friend keeping watch from above. Silly, perhaps, but we are allowed our comforts, aren't we? Beneath it all, the dragon breathes. Listen, in and out, like distant bellows worked by some sleepy hand. The sound rolls low and soft like waves against a lake shore. I never thought I'd find such peace in the presence of one once called a monster, but there it is. Peace in breath and scale and stillness. The dragon curls tighter now and then, claws folding gently, tail twitching like a dog's dream. Even in sleep, it guards nothing, not from me, and I from it. Grass grows thick between the stones where we lie, not trimmed, not tamed, left to do what it pleases. Some of it bends toward the fire, some leans outward toward the night. There are little flowers tucked in too, moon-pale blooms with petals like folded parchment. They open only after sunset, shy little things that glow faintly in the firelight. If you brush your fingers over them, they release a smell like wild honey and dusk. Further off, near the northern edge of the ruin, there's a tree that leans inward, a hawthorn, old and knotted, its bark twisted like rope. I sometimes imagine it once stood proud at the edge of a courtyard, its blossoms scattered beneath the boots of knights. Now it offers shade to foxes and birds, and the occasional sleeping man who needs its quiet. Do you hear the owl? There, that soft hoot in the distance. Comes and goes like a question asked to no one in particular. I've never seen the creature, but I think it lives near the old tower wall. Perhaps it knows this place better than I do. Perhaps it's watched over more nights than I could count. And just there, can you hear the rustling? That's the wind moving through the open stones, through vines and bits of broken timber. It sounds like whispers, doesn't it? The kind that don't ask for answers. I sometimes imagine the ruin itself is breathing with us, in and out, as though all the old memories stored in its walls have settled into sleep as well. The earth beneath us is cool. I feel it through my armor, a slow press like the weight of time. It doesn't burden me. No, it holds me, reminds me where I am, that I've stopped moving, that the world can be this quiet, that I'm allowed to lie here beside the fire beneath the stars with a dragon sleeping and you beside me. This place, this valley, this ruin, it doesn't ask for anything. Not stories, not strength, not sorrow, only presence, only stillness. And that, my friend, is what I have come to offer, to this land, to the fire, to you. So close your eyes if you wish, or keep them open a little longer, watching how the shadows shift, how the fire hums, how the stars remain. You are safe here. You are welcome. You are exactly where you are meant to be. You're stir kind to sit with me a while longer. The night is gentler with company. Even in silence, perhaps especially in silence. I don't believe I ever told you much about myself. Not out of secrecy, no. Only the need to speak of who I am has grown quieter over time. These days I carry more memories than names, and those memories are softer than they once were. Not blurred. No, not lost, just worn smooth at the edges, like stones in a river, rounded by years of flow. You see this armor? It creaks when I move now, not from rust, but from having followed the shape of me for too long. It has become a second skin, not a shield. I no longer wear it to keep the world out. I wear it because I've grown into it, the way a tree grows around a blade forgotten in its bark. It is not a thing I remove anymore, only something I rest within. It's not polished. I let go of that habit years ago. There are scratches across the chest plate. Yes, not from battle, but from branches and time. The left gauntlet sticks a little at the wrist. The leather straps have worn to a dull brown, and the padding inside smells faintly of firewood and meadow grass. It's become less a suit, more a companion like old boots or a favorite blanket. Strange, isn't it, that something once made for war now keeps me warm in sleep. Once, long ago, I thought a knight was meant to be proud, upright, shining, fierce, and perhaps I was all those things for a time. But pride is a heavy thing to carry, and shine fades faster than you'd think. Now, I take more comfort in the quiet weight of years, in the ache of my knees when I stand, the stiffness in my shoulders when I lie still too long. They remind me I've lived. What remains of me now is shaped not by triumph, but by travel. I have wandered further than maps. Remember, Crossed forests so dense the light never touched the ground, fields where no path stayed for long, villages forgotten by coin but rich with kindness. And in each place I left a little of myself behind. Not armor, not banners, just stories perhaps, smiles, a song once or twice, though I never did sing very well. Do you know the feeling of walking long enough that the road becomes a part of you? That's where I am now. My legs no longer ask for destination. My heart does not hunger for glory. I do not keep track of seasons, only of feelings, the warmth of a fire on cold fingers, the hush of a morning when no one has yet stirred, the comfort of your presence beside me, here where no one else listens. There are things I remember, of course. Faces sometimes, voices, a laugh that carried across a river, a hand pressed briefly against my arm before parting. But I don't chase those memories. I let them arrive when they wish. Like the night breeze, I think they find me more often now that I've stopped chasing them. And then there is the dragon. You've seen them, haven't you? Curled not far from here, sleeping as though the world never called them terrible. There was a time, yes, when I would have raised steel without hesitation, when my breath would have quickened, my fingers tightened on the hilt. But that time is gone, long gone. Now I see only a creature that has laid down its fire, as I have laid down my war. We don't speak, not in words, but we understand one another in other ways, in silence, in the way we share warmth, in the way neither of us moves when the other stirs. We have become not companions in the way of stories, not sworn allies or bonded souls. We are simply two beings who have lived long and chosen not to fear each other anymore. There is peace in that, a deep, wordless peace. And you, dear one, you who sit beside me so kindly, you're part of that peace too. You've asked for nothing, demanded no tale of dragons slain or thrones won. You've only come to sit, to listen, to breathe with me here in the stillness. And so I offer this, the truth of a night no longer on a quest. I am not weary with sorrow, though I've known sorrow. I am not lost, though I've wandered. I am simply still, and in that stillness I've found something I never once sought. Enough sky to look at, enough fire to warm my hands, enough kindness to rest my heart. I've come to believe that life is not a path one conquers, but a field one tends, and I am content to sit among the overgrowth, armor dulled, sword quiet, watching stars and dragons breathe beside me. So stay, if you will. You do not need to speak. Just be here, and let the world soften around you as it has softened around me. Moo, let me tell you how I came to this quiet place. Not all at once, no, but gently, as the dusk gathers. There's no need for haste. The fire is steady, the dragon is still dreaming, and you are here. That's more than enough. It wasn't a grand journey, not in the way songs might tell it. There were no fanfares, no declarations. I did not set out from a castle gate with a proud banner or blessings from a crowd. No, I simply began to walk, not towards something, away from noise, from duty, from the sharp edges of expectation. There comes a time, I think, when the clamor of the world begins to echo too loud inside the bones, when even the ring of a blacksmith's hammer feels like a memory one would rather not carry. That time had come for me. I had maps, yes, but not ones drawn for conquest. These were old, faded and folded too many times. Maps scribbled with more question marks than answers, edges curling like the pages of a book left too long in the sun. They weren't meant for finding kingdoms or riches, only quiet. Then falls, so I followed them. Fields first, gentle ones, with grass that moved like waves. Then woods, deep, fern-filled, shaded paths where even the birds sang more softly. I slept beside brooks under crooked pines beneath stars that I began to greet by name. Some nights were colder than others, some days wetter, but none asked more of me than I could give. And as I walked, something within me began to slow, not fade, not at all, just soften. The memories of battle began to loosen their hold. The names, the horns, the weight of steel on muscle, they didn't disappear. They simply became quieter, like echoes swallowed by stone. I remember one morning, I awoke in a meadow filled with blue flowers. No one had planted them. No one tended them. They just were blooming without audience. I watched the wind move through them for hours. That was when I knew I had stopped searching for answers. I had begun listening for rest. And it was not long after that, though time moves strangely, doesn't it, that I found this ruin. At the time it was little more than shadow and shape. Stones wrapped in ivy, walls broken open to the stars, but something about it felt still, not abandoned. No, just finished, like a song that had been sung fully and was now humming softly to itself. I stepped through what was once a gate. No doors remained, only two tall arches leaning toward one another, like old friends remembering how to bow. My boots crunched gently on gravel and moss, and I found this very patch of ground where we now sit. Well, I thought, perhaps I would rest here a night. But I was not the only one drawn to this place. That evening, just as the last light slipped beyond the ridge and the shadows thickened, I heard a sound, slow, low, like breath wrapped in sorrow. And there, in the far corner of the ruin, was the dragon. Its wings were folded in tight. One of them dragged slightly, torn or twisted, I could not say. Its eyes were not fierce. They were heavy, not with anger, with age. Now once, I might have drawn my sword, reflex perhaps, training, but that part of me had grown quiet too, and instead I did something strange. I sat, that sips all. I sat down, crossed my legs, rested my hands on my knees. The dragon did not move toward me, nor I toward it. We simply shared the silence. The fire between us crackled low. The wind moved through the arches. The stars came out, one by one, as if curious about what might unfold. But nothing did. And perhaps that was the miracle of it. Over time, hours, days, I cannot say, we began to shift. Not closer, just more comfortable. I would light a fire. It would breathe gently beside me. I would eat some bread. It would rest its head near mine. A kind of rhythm emerged, a shared stillness, an understanding. I never reached for my sword, not once, and the dragon never raised its claws. There was something wordless between us, something kind, as if we both knew the world had expected more of us than it should have, as if we had both laid down the weight we no longer wished to carry. I came to learn that the dragon liked warmth, not just fire, but the sun. It would curl itself into shafts of light like a cat, humming in its chest as it dozed. Sometimes I'd speak aloud, not to it, really, just into the air. old stories, fragments of thoughts, and sometimes, I swear, it would hum back, not in words but in sound, low and deep and calm. And so I stayed. One night became many. The ruins, once cold, became familiar. The moss grew softer, the walls less broken, or perhaps I had simply stopped looking for what was missing. I saw what remained. I built a small circle of stones, the very fire pit we use now. I gathered fallen branches and found a place to lay my sword where it would not be disturbed. The dragon watched, always just nearby, always just awake enough to breathe. And so this became home, not with ceremony, not with claim or decree, only with time, only with stillness, only with the quiet rhythm of days passing gently between two old creatures who had stopped needing to prove anything at all. That, my friend, that is how I came here. And I would not trade the long road for anything. Not the glory of courts, not the songs sung in halls, not even the cheers of battle or the weight of victory. Because here with firelight on old stone, with stars above, with your quiet presence beside mine, and the breath of a dragon not far off, I have found something far rarer than triumph. I have found enough, so rest here with me. You are part of this place now too. You still awake? Good. I hoped you might be. Some stories are meant to be told in the late hours, not for answers, no, but for the comfort of remembering. There's something about speaking in the dark, with the fire low and the stars looking on, that makes memory soften. It's not sharp here, it's not heavy, it simply drifts. And I find myself drifting with it, back through quiet days that unfolded like slow leaves, one after another, calm and unhurried. You know, the dragon and I, we never spoke. Not with words, at least, but silence has its own language, especially when shared over time. In those first days, or was it weeks, we fell into something that felt like rhythm. It wasn't planned. I didn't say, "Today I shall tend the saddle," and the dragon never gestured with a paw toward kindling. Things just happened. I'd rise, stretch, brush dew from my gauntlets, and find that a neat little pile of firewood had been set just so by the old archway. Nothing grand, just enough for the evening. The dragon never looked at me when I discovered it, never waited for praise. I'd nod softly out of habit, not expecting a reply, and then I'd build the fire. In return, perhaps, I'd mend something, the leather saddle I mentioned, or an old blanket torn by thorn, work done slowly, without rush, stitch by stitch, thought by thought. And in that silence, we kept each other company. One morning, cool, misted, the sort that makes your breath drift ahead like a whisper, we found an orchard. We weren't looking for it, not exactly. I'd wandered a little beyond the ruin's edge, through a veil of elder trees and damp ferns. The dragon followed, quiet as snowfall. Then quite suddenly there they were, rows of trees bent with age, their branches still holding small clusters of fruit, long past ripeness, and beneath them, violets. Violets everywhere. A purple sea, spreading through the grass, spilling over gnarled roots, pooling in the shadows like spilled ink. The smell was thick with sweetness and earth. I remember kneeling, brushing a hand through them, petals catching on my fingertips. The dragon circled once, then lowered itself with a soft grunt, curling among the blossoms like it belonged there. And it did. We stayed for hours. I don't know why that day lingers so clearly. Perhaps because it felt like stumbling into something forgotten but not lost. The orchard had outlived its purpose, but not its beauty, and in that there was something deeply human and deeply kind. No one tended it, no one watched it, and still it bloomed. We returned there, now and then, not often, just enough to remember the shape of it. Another time, much later, I think, we were sitting by the fire just as we are now. The coals were low, the stars soft and sleepy, and from the tree line a deer stepped forward. It moved so delicately, you'd have thought it was made of moonlight. Thin legs, wide eyes, ears flicking, as if listening to a song too faint for us to hear. It stood at the very edge of the firelight, no more than 10 paces away. The dragon lifted its head. I turned, slowly, so slowly, and we both watched. The deer did not flee. It simply stood there, breathing with us, 3 beings bound not by fear or hunger, but by stillness. And after a while it dipped its head, just slightly, and disappeared back into the dark. That night I didn't sleep for some time. I just lay there thinking of the stillness we'd shared, how rare it is for living things to exist beside one another without need or noise. How strange and wonderful that can be. There were other moments too, smaller ones perhaps, but still precious. Like the morning mist would curl between the broken stones, hanging in the air like spun wool. The way the dragon's tail would twitch when it dreamed, flicking like a kitten chasing something, only it could see. The soft sound of rain on my cloak, as I sat beneath the ruined arch, watching droplets gather on the tips of ivy leaves before falling, one by one into a puddle no larger than a coin. There was a day the wind blew through the ruin in a particular way. I remember this clearly. It passed through the holes in the wall like a flute, and for just a moment the whole place sang. Not a melody you'd remember, just a breath of sound, like the ruin itself remembering some old tune long forgotten. The dragon looked up then, and for the briefest heartbeat, I think it smiled. Not with lips, but with its eyes, and I smiled too. There is something about living beside another soul, even in silence, that changes you, or perhaps allows you to become more of what you already are. I found myself humming again, little things, nothing from courts or ballads, just notes, shapes of sound, sometimes to the fire, sometimes to the moss beneath my hands. Once I hummed to a beetle making its slow way across a stone, and it paused as if to listen. It became a ritual almost, waking slowly, sitting in the hush, tending to small tasks, not because they needed doing, but because the doing felt gentle. I'd brush moss from a stone. The dragon would stretch, wings creaking like old doors. We'd share a glance or not. Some days I'd speak aloud, not often. But now and then a memory, a musing, a question with no answer. The kind you ask only when you don't expect one. The dragon never interrupted, just breathed, and somehow that felt like listening. I think it helped, not being alone, but not being watched either. There was no judgment in those days. No eyes weighing what I did or didn't do, only presence, quiet, consistent presence. And through it all, I felt the world forgetting us, not in cruelty, not in neglect, but in grace. The way a child might set a worn toy gently on a shelf and say, "You may rest now," and we did. That, my friend, is what we found here. Not miracles, not revelations, just moments, strung together like beads on a thread made of time. Moments that ask nothing of you but to notice, to breathe, to be. And now, as you sit here beside me, I wonder what your moments will be, tonight, tomorrow, some day long after we part. Perhaps you'll see violets beneath a tree, or find warmth in the breath of another, or simply sit in silence beside someone, saying nothing at all, and yet meaning everything. Those are the moments that matter, the ones no one writes songs about, because they are too quiet to catch. But they stay. Oh, they stay. So let this fire be one of those, that this night and this shared hush, and this slow weaving of breath and shadow, be a memory that carries you softly forward. You are not forgotten, dear friend. You simply, beautifully, still. Awake are you? I can hear your breath. Slow, steady, just beside mine. That's good. I like that. Sometimes the quiet between two souls says more than any tale ever could. Tonight I don't think I have a tale to tell, really. No beginning, no middle, no end. Just a few thoughts that have settled in my chest, the way ash settles after the fire has burned low. I've been thinking lately about trust. Not the kind written in ink and sealed in wax. Not oaths taken beneath banners or over blades. No. I mean the quieter kind. The kind that grows slowly in the still places between words. The kind that doesn't ask for anything but time. To estrange instead. To be trusted again. For a long time I was a figure of sharp edges. Boots that echoed too loudly. Armor that glinted too much. A name that made folks straighten their backs when I entered a room. Some called it respect. But it wasn't. It was fear, and I wore it like a second cloak. I thought I had to. I thought being feared was the price of being heard. But here, with the dragon breathing soft nearby, and you sitting quiet beside me, no one fears me, and I find that I do not miss it. The dragon doesn't fear me, not anymore. Once, perhaps, when its wings still bore pain, and its eyes watched me with that old fire. But now it curls its tail near mine, shares its warmth, lets me sleep with my sword still sheathed. That is a kind of trust I never knew I needed. The trust of a creature that could have burned me to ash, and instead chose stillness. What a gift that is, to be seen and not feared, to be allowed to be soft without being seen as weak. And that makes me wonder how many choices in my life were made from fear. How many banners did I follow simply because I didn't know I was allowed to say no? How many times did I raise my voice when silence would have served better? If I could whisper back to my younger self, that boy who first buckled a sword belt, who looked at maps like they held all the answers, I wouldn't tell him to change. No, I think I stepped simply say, you are allowed to rest too. We don't always know that, do we? Because so many of us believe peace is something earned, fought for, held like a prize at the end of a long road. But here silts what I self come to understand, lying still beneath a broken sky, warmed by fire and dragon silt's breath, speaking to you in this hush. Peace is not a reward. It's a choice, a quiet one, often hard, often lonely, but always there, waiting just beyond the noise. I think that's what this place has taught me most, that stillness is not the absence of meaning, it is the presence of it. When I first laid down my sword, truly laid it down, not just from my hands but from my heart, I felt strange. Not empty, no, but unsure. Who was I, if not a knight of steel and order? Who was I, without titles, without a role to play? And do you know what I found? I was still myself. Still the boy who once watched bees in the clover and wondered how they knew where to go. Still the man who cried the first time a child gave him a flower and called him sir without trembling. Still the soul who longed not for victory but for understanding. We are not what we do. We are what we cherish. What we notice, what we choose, again and again, even when no one is watching. I still chosen quiet. I still chosen warmth. I've chosen to sit beside a creature once called a monster and find a friend. And in that choice, I found something I never once expected myself. Funny how long it can take to come home to yourself, isn't it? To think sometimes about names, what they mean, what they carry. The name I was given at birth is buried somewhere beneath the titles, and the titles, they were carved by others. Sir, they'd say. Knight Commander. The Iron Blade, each one a layer of armor, each one a little further from who I truly was. Here, though, no one calls me anything, and that too is a kind of freedom. A name is a useful thing, yes, but it is not the whole of a person. A name cannot tell you how someone dreams, or how they pause to watch light flicker through leaves, or how gently they set a hand on another's shoulder in the dark. And you, my dear friend, you have never asked for a name from me, only presence, only honesty, and that is the rarest grace I have known. I wonder sometimes how many others are out there, lost not in distance, but in noise, in shoulds and musts and fears disguised as purpose. I want to tell them, lay it down just for a little while. Sit with the stars. Let the silence hold you, because silence can hold you. Not bind, not hush, hold. Such a kind of embrace if you let it be. Out there, beyond these ruins, beyond the hills and the rivers and the winding roads, the world still spins its stories. Kings rise and fall, swords flash, banners change hands. But here there is only stillness. And stillness is its own kind of truth. It does not ask for proof. It does not care for legacy. It only asks that you breathe. And that is enough. There is a kind of peace in being forgotten, not by friends, but by expectation. The world no longer calls my name, and I find that I do not miss the sound. I prefer the sound of wind through ivy, of coals shifting softly, of your breath slow and calm beside mine. If this is what old age brings, then I welcome it. Let the world spin, let the stars watch, let the dragon sleep, and the moss grow thick between the stones. I will sit here, night after night, and speak when the words come, and listen when they don't. And when you return, if you return, I will greet you the same way I do now. Not with questions, not with demands, just with space, just with warmth, just with a place to rest your thoughts, and let your heart be still. You are always welcome here, always. So let us breathe together now, slowly, softly. You, me, and the creature who no longer fears, and is no longer feared. This is the heart of the story, and it does not need an ending. I think sleep is beginning to gather its arms around me, slowly, kindly, the way mist settles over a quiet field. No rush, no need for words, just weightless invitation. I'll stay a little longer with you, of course, but I may grow quieter as I do. You see, the fire is sinking into itself now, all its bravado burned away. What's left is steady, low and soft, the kind of glow that holds the dark gently in its arms, rather than pushing it back. It flickers on the stones like a lullaby with no melody, just rhythm, just warmth. The dragon, curled just there across the way, will stay awake a while longer. It always does. That's become part of our rhythm too. It watches the last embers. It listens to the wind. It hums now and then. Not a sound I can truly describe, but it settles into your bones, like the deep note of a bell that was never meant to call anyone, only to exist. Sometimes I think it guards me, though we both know there's nothing left to guard against. Or perhaps it simply lingers in that space between wakefulness and dream, like I do now, like you, maybe, drifting gently with me. I shift a little here on the moss, not too much. The armor complains, in its usual way, a soft creak, the whisper of leather against grass, the familiar sigh of old metal adjusting to the shape of stillness. It's funny in a way. This suit, once made for war, now only useful for leaning. It has become something else entirely. Not a shield, but a cradle. This moss beneath me is damp from the evening air, but not cold. It's the kind of cool that invites you to breathe deeper, that reminds you of earth and age and patience. It grows thick between the ruins, filling every forgotten crack, and somehow it makes the stone feel less lonely. This place, this crumbled keep with no roof and no name, feels more like home than any castle I've ever known. Not because of what it holds, but because of what it doesn't. No court here. No commands, shouted down long hallways. No eyes, judging from behind polished wood. Just air, just stone, just time. The ceilings are stars, the walls vines and silence, and the great tapestries, they're the shadows that move as the fire shifts, dancing softly on broken stone. Here, I do not have to be anyone, and still, I am known. That, to me, is the greatest kind of belonging. When you are no longer seen for what you do, but for how you simply are. And I am still now, quiet, slower in every way, but not with sadness, not with loss, only with a fullness that doesn't need proving. Rest, when it finally came to me, did not arrive like surrender. It wasn't some final collapsing. It came like an old friend, one I hadn't seen in many years, walking up a long road with no shoes, smiling, asking no questions. I thought, for so long, that to rest meant to give up, that stillness was the absence of meaning, that without striving I would somehow fade. But it isn't scent. So, stillness is not the lack of life. It is the depth of it. And this ruin, this fire, your company, they've shown me that the deepest peace is not found in laying down one's sword, but in forgetting why you carried it in the first place. You know, sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I listen to the dragon's breathing, long, low, like waves against a shore, and I imagine it is the earth breathing, not in or out, just existing, and I let my own breath match it, little by little, until the line between myself and the world begins to soften. You might try that too, if you'd like. Breathe with me now. Slowly, deeply. Let the night carry away what weight you brought with you. Let the moss hold your back. Let the fire lull your thoughts. There stills nothing left to be done. Not tonight. Not in this place. We've come far, haven't we? And yet, I feel we've gone nowhere at all. Just deeper, not outward, but inward, like a candle burning down to the heart of its flame. Even my name, I think, has grown quieter here. I used to say it often, used to wear it like a crest. Now it's become something else, a gentle hum at the base of who I am, but not something I need to speak aloud. It's such enough, I think, to be known in silence. Enough to rest and not explain why. You are welcome to stay a while longer. Even when I close my eyes, even when my words begin to drift, as they are now, your presence is not a weight. It's a comfort, like a hand resting near, not touching, just being. The stars are brighter tonight than they were last night, or maybe I'm only noticing them more. That one there, above the crumbled arch, it's always been my favorite, the way it flickers. Not fast, but steady like a heartbeat at rest. A reminder that even far away, light can still reach us. You see, even stars rest. They shine without burning. And so shall I. I think soon I'll lay fully back. Let the moss take my weight. Let the sky watch over me. And the dragon, it will keep the last watch, as it always does. Not as a guard, but as a companion. Then you tell be here too. Or maybe drifting already. That's all right. That's more than all right. Sleep, when it comes, will not take you by force. It will wrap around you gently, like the hush between two verses of a song that never needs to end. And me? The fixtures for stir belaikob say. Not in armor, not in duty, but in peace. True, slow, earned by no one, offered to all. Peace. Let's breathe one more time together. In and out. Good. That seps it. You see us safe now. Let the fire burn low. Let the dragon hum its song. Let the moss hold your limbs, and the night cradle your heart. Rest is near, and you are not alone. You've stayed longer than I expected, dear heart. The fire is nearly gone now, just a slow, pulsing glow among the stones, and still you remain. That is a kindness I feel in my chest, not the kind that asks for thanks, but the kind that simply is. You did not need to come, and still you are here. That is a kind of love. Not loud, not named, just present. You listened, you breathed with me. You let the night soften us both. And now, as my words grow fewer and the hush gathers close, I want to leave you with no farewell, only a wish, a quiet blessing, if you feel, allow it. May you sleep deeply tonight, my friend. Nay, the weight you carried into this ruin melt like frost at morning's edge. May your thoughts drift like smoke through the rafters of forgotten towers, slow curling free. May your dreams fall soft as rain on old stone, gentle, familiar, welcomed by the earth. And may you wake, when it is time, feeling lighter than you were, as though the stars themselves kept watch over you, and whispered your name like a song only they remember. There's no need to say goodbye, not in a place like this. We'll meet again, I think, perhaps not in words, but in stillness, in moments, in the breath between two memories. You are always welcome by this fire. And now, close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the hush take hold. Let the warmth linger. The dragon's breath is steady now, slow and sure, like waves against the shore of a world you no longer need to hold upright. Listen to it. Let it carry you. The embers, too, are singing, not with sound, but with presence. The final lullaby of flame becoming ash, heat becoming hush. Sleep well, my friend, and when you drift, know this. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are enough, even now, even here, especially here. Good night.